Hooray for fixing stupid stuff. So this is the blower motor off the downstairs fireplace that basically blows the heat up here into the shop. I think it's out of an old Gen Air stove. Anyways, it has seen many hours of service in its previous life, a tremendous amount of neglect in a junkyard, and then has run for hours, sometimes days at a time for me. I also have it mounted vertically, and I suspect it originally ran sideways. So what it was doing is when it was cold, it didn't want to start. First it was making some shrieking noises, which I took to be oil or grease. And so I'd pull it. I wouldn't pull the case apart, but I'd pull it out and I'd put a little oil and it would stop for a while. And then this winter, when it was cold, it wouldn't start. I'm glad I noticed it, because if I'd have just started the fire to warm the place up, and you know, sometimes we start the fire 2 or 3 hours before we come out here, she'd have been a crispy critter. But I pulled it apart, and pieces were falling out here of the snout. And what it was, as you can see, that white, it's almost a PVC fiber washer. It was that. So what we've got is we've got a spacer, PVC washer, a felt, which I assume is a cushion and a seal, and then a couple of spring steel wear/spring washers. And it was that plastic fiber washer that fell out of the nose, and what it allowed this thing to do was drop down far enough that it began to hit here in the snout. So I've got these. They're not hardened steel. They do, however, add up to more or less that, which is more or less is perfectly fine. I'm just going to get these spring washers off. Okay, apparently I can't do that one-handed on camera. I'll get these spring washers off and I'll put these behind it. It does mean that this, because these are not a perfect fit, it means that motor is going to be slightly out of balance. But considering the inside of the thing is caked with snot and crap, I think it'll be okay. But that'll keep that end, see there you can see the bright spot where it's been hitting. That'll keep that end from making contact, and she should spin up even though it's mounted vertically. Those marks on the thing. Even though it's mounted vertically and is deeply abused. I'll take this opportunity to put some grease in there. Best I can tell, these are not a phosphor bronze. They're not an oiled bronze where it's kind of that foam that sucks up oil. It just appears to be a steel bushing on both ends. I'd clean it out, but I think some of that shmoo is structural, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave that alone. But I'll get some more grease in these two end caps on the shaft. A few drops on the felt there, and we should be back in high cotton. If high cotton was built from garbage found in a dump. Alrighty then, with our super safety bootleg plug in place, let's give it a test zoomie. That ought to work fine.
It's probably going to turn out that using random extreme pressure, multi-duty, complex, high-temp grease, wow! That's either marketing wank or this is for the space shuttle. And it just says lithium soap. It's probably not the best, but that's okay because we don't really care. Perfection. That ought to run. With all the neglect I can dish out for the remainder, at least till the zombies come. So the washers I used, you know, the spring washers are those hardened steel washers. They're obviously not designed to be a bearing surface. Neither is the end cap of the motor. It's definitely not designed to hang vertically like this. So right now we're using the end cap of the motor and one of those hardened washers as basically a bearing. And that's that. I mean, obviously that's not good, but on the other hand, it's been running like this now for 7 years. So all greased up, filled with the lovely schmoo and all the rest that's going on. I don't see why it shouldn't go for another 7 years. Once it starts to get sticky again, I'll deal with it again. Additionally, to be totally honest with you, without any poking or prodding, she decided to start on her own. My guess is that's a sticky grease thing. I don't know what the weird rattle was. That was my bad for using axle bearing grease on it. But